As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, Obscurians? It's time for another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if they should be tossed into the forgotten void of obscurity, never to be heard from again, or remembered for all of human history. My name is Steve, and with me is a man who's destroying the time stream. It is
Yahel. Hi, Steve. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Or wait, should I say, doing excellent, dude? No one.
Please, there's no need to do that. I am.
Why not?
It's just not necessary. I notice I'm way off center, but I fixed it myself, Steve.
I was about to fix it.
No, it was my fault because I had moved the camera earlier. So,
yeah.
While you were gone, Steve. While you were getting your alcoholic beverage.
Shh. It's our little secret. Don't worry. Only I didn't mark it down as a demerit this time, but next time
thank you.
You watch out.
Very, very kind and generous of you, Steve. Have you thought about becoming a manager at Nail World? This level of
something that I'd rather people not know is that I did briefly work at Home Depot, and I'm sure it was just as bad as working at Nail World. Yeah.
I thought it was so funny because Nail World at first, actually in this episode, I as I was telling you just before we started, I accidentally watched 2 episodes of this show. First, I watched an episode called Nailin' something. It's like the actual first episode, not the pilot.
Oh, I watched a little bit of that. Yeah.
Well, I watched the whole thing like an idiot. But I went back and I watched, the pilot.
I'm sorry, were my instructions not clear enough?
Well, Steve, the sad thing is I'm the one that sent you the link.
Oh, that's right. Pilot. Yeah. Wow.
I found it.
Oh, can I just say that your cinematography is looking very Drive today, very Nicholas Winding Refn, dare I say. I'm just not used to seeing all that red back there. Is Satan back there? Or is Satan? Hello, Satan.
Well, I thought it looked a little too blue, so I just wanted to mix it up a little bit, make it look like a Netflix film, since no matter the genre, there's always like neonish lighting at some point.
Just on a quick aside, Nicholas Winding Refn, the director of Drive, his latest, I don't know what you want to call it these days, opus.
Joints?
Yeah, Joint. His latest joint appeared on Netflix, and it's called The Copenhagen Cowboy. And I love that guy, and he's like one of my favorite directors ever since Drive. But man, that show absolutely sucks, but it has some amazing cinematography. But all right,
at least it's got that going for it. But yeah, I thought Nail World was like Batteries Plus,
right?
Where they only like sell batteries,
right? It would have been funnier if they only sold nails. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I thought it was, and I was so disappointed later when it's obvious that they sell tools and other stuff, but I was like, oh man, that's great. Although I did like, and I guess this is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, when we see Nail World, that there's like a globe, like a globe you would spin, and they just stuck nails all over it, like pinhead style.
Yeah, well.
Like so literal, Nail World.
So I don't think we've mentioned the title in case someone doesn't have the ability to read a thumbnail or a podcast title. We are discussing Bill and Ted's excellent. Wow.
Have you read? Can you read a thumbnail, Steve?
Excellent. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. That's right, plural.
What's in that drink?
It's actually a margarita. I'm getting festive. I thought I'd celebrate your people, buddy.
I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm not Mexican. I get it.
So, I thought you'd appreciate that. So, yes, this is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, a TV show for Bill and Ted from the feature films that I never knew existed. So we might as well jump right into it. Have you ever even heard of this show? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we found out about it when we were talking about Eek the Cat, because a lot of people behind the scenes that worked on this worked on Eek the Cat. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, the other Savage Steve.
Right.
He worked on this, but like, why would you do a woofing sound for the creator of Eek the Cat? I'm very.
Oh, that's the Savage Steed. It's like Tim Allen kind of.
This is mating call.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, I see. It's where Tim Allen stole it from.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think maybe somebody mentioned it, and I thought I hadn't watched this, or excuse me, I thought I had never heard of it. And then when I started watching it, I was like, oh no, I have. At the very least, I must have seen commercials or maybe even bits of it,
Huh.
because I did remember like the actors and like their, I don't want to say impressions, the performances of like the Bill and Ted characters.
Well, then you definitely have more history with it than myself. How about what's your history?
Steve, wouldn't any history be more? I mean, the bar here is almost as low as their attempt to make Rufus look like George Carlin.
Yeah, I suppose so. And plus, I mean, it was only 8 episodes. But what's your history with the Bill and Ted franchise? Do you like the movies? Did you see them in the theater?
Yeah, yeah, I remember seeing the movies in the theater because, as we've mentioned before, you and I are knocking on death's door.
Damn! Wow. Well, maybe you are, but I'm
But
feeling great. I'm just for the record, I'm feeling
no,
great.
no,
everyone.
you have a kid. You're aging like 3 times faster than me for sure.
It's true.
But yeah, no, I saw it in theaters. I really liked them. And I haven't seen the movies like in a really long time, but I remember enjoying them both and thinking the second one with Death was even better than the first, like way better. But I may be, misremembering
Because you were
that.
going through a
But
goth
yeah,
phase at the time.
I'm still going through a goth phase. Have you seen this?
Have you seen the girls that he's been taking home? Come on.
Yeah. But have you seen my Ouija coffee
Oh,
mug here,
wow.
sir?
That's cool. And wow, I was joking. I didn't realize you were.
Yeah.
You've been.
And I think the last couple of weeks I've been using my Cauldron coffee mug. It's a cauldron with a handle.
So now you're going. So basically, you're the dude from the Halloween mega tape, right? The guy who thinks he's a vampire.
I'm the old guy at the castle going, "Hey, fellow goth kids."
You're walking
The
around.
castle, for those that don't know, it's a goth club in Ybor City. It's actually a pretty good club, even if you're not into the goth scene.
It used to have a guy in it called the Senator who walked around in assless chaps, and I believe you took his place. Is that correct?
No, Steve, he did not walk around in assless chaps. He walked around in a teddy, like lingerie, usually a teddy, with
Teddy?
see-through bottoms. And
all
he
right,
would-
yeah, maybe that was
Steve,
it.
I have pictures with him. I've recently seen pictures with him because I
I
also
bet you
recently
do.
found out he is not dead as so many of us expected. He is alive and well. I don't know, but he doesn't go to the castle anymore.
Oh.
He's actually been replaced by a guy that wears like 1940s like army gear with like a helmet and everything.
Now, let me ask you this. I remember during my very small window of time attending the castle, there used to be a guy there dressed as, well, I mean, I guess it's apropos for the episode, Keanu Reeves from The Matrix. Does he still show up?
Oh, I don't know.
And the way he would dance is like dodging bullets and stuff. It was.
Yeah, I don't. I know the guy you're specifically talking about. I can't remember seeing him the last few
Old
times I've been
Neo
there,
Joe, they called him.
Yeah, but there's always guys dressed like that,
Still?
So
Wow.
I mean, he may not be but his legacy isn't dead. Unlike hopefully the Matrix franchise.
Oh, did you
is
see
dead,
that
but
fourth one? I know we'll never review it, but
I didn't see it, but I watched behind the scene, like a VFX kind of behind the scenes reel on it, and that was enough for me to not watch it. I was like, "Ooh, this looks
I
terrible."
mean, even after I watched the Red Letter Media review, they liked it because it was so like ironically bad. But then when I watched it, I just felt like I was wasting like 2 to 3 hours of my life.
And as we've established, you're knocking on death's door, aging rapidly. You can't be wasted.
I've got podcasts to record. I mean, we're
It's
taking over the world here, and we got to do
Steve,
it.
instead you were wasting it watching the pilot episode of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right,
from the
that
90s.
much like us still being. Wait, no, that's a terrible. I was trying to sort of combine the fact that the pilot episode has no real ending to the fact that we're still alive and kicking. Does that work in any way?
This is getting morbid. But,
hey, you're the one who keeps mentioning it.
It kind of works in a way.
Old gothy Yahel over here.
But look, back to Bill and Ted's. I never watched the cartoon. Did you watch the cartoon?
Actually, I think that was probably the first Bill and Ted media that I ever experienced.
Really?
I remember it being on a Saturday morning cartoons, and I didn't really get it then. And then I think I watched. I think I might have watched the second movie first. And I never really thought it was funny. I mean, I didn't really hate it, but I didn't get why everybody else liked it. And but I have a question for you. When was the first time you ever heard that sort of surfer kind of accent that they do? Any character in any media, or maybe a real person in real life. When was the first time you ever heard someone who's like, "Oh, what's up, dude? Radical, dude."
Oh, man, I really don't know.
Well, I'll tell you mine.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure Michelangelo was the first one I heard.
I was just gonna say maybe the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Is the first time I can clearly remember it, but I feel like it was already a thing before then, because before TMNT had come out, I hopefully I'm getting my timeline right here. California Games, the NES game, had come out, and already at that time, that whole California surfer culture, skater culture, and the way they supposedly talked was already kind of pretty much alive and well. So I will say though, there's a Game Genie commercial.
Oh, I know it well.
Yeah, there's a Game Genie commercial with two kids talking about the Game Genie, and they're totally doing. Listen to me using the word totally. They're doing a Bill and Ted's rip off the whole time, talking about the Game Genie. It's a pretty fun time capsule, but even then it was lame. But did you ever think that was cool though? The whole whoa, dude, totally.
I mean, as a 6-year-old, I thought Michelangelo was cool. He was my favorite for a while because he liked pizza the most, and but I never really thought it was cool. I don't even think I really understood it. I was just I was as a 6 or 7-year-old. I was living in South Carolina, and I'm like, why doesn't anyone around here talk like that? Huh? Weird.
Why isn't anyone around here cool?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a few years older than you, and even when I was in school, with older kids, nobody would. Funny enough, kids in school only kind of said it ironically. Now that I think about it, maybe they might sarcastically say something's radical. But do you recall any kid in the late 80s, early 90s saying radical earnestly?
Maybe. I mean, I would say a radical here and there, maybe. But just that whole tone.
But no. But I don't mean saying radical, like the whole radical, the whole surfer California accent.
No. You mean being a giant poser or whatever? Nah.
Yeah. Even the skater kids and stuff at school didn't talk they might say something was rad. But it was more likely to hear somebody say something was bad when it was cool. That was
Right. I gotcha.
Wow, we've really sidetracked.
No,
here.
I don't think so, because all right, we watched the pilot and it's super short. So, I mean, we're just I wouldn't say we're filling time, but this is relevant, and that's why I asked it. But
okay. I didn't realize you were taking this as an assault on your question.
Yeah, how dare you? This is quality content here. Sure. Wow, I'm surprised no one's joined us, but whatever. All right, last questions about the Bill and Ted franchise, and then we'll get into the TV show here. Did you watch the new movie?
I did not, but I've heard it was good. However, the people I heard it was good from, the one person who I know loved it to death, and I love him to death, but it also made me think this is probably not that good, was our mutual friend, one Michael Labasca, a.k.a. Johnny Armati. He told me he watched it twice.
What?
So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
But I mean, a few other people like in our group chat. I mean, you know them actually, like T-Bone Funk,
Wow.
Tommy Tanjovi over in a group chat with them. They all liked it, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
one.
those guys, I would say, probably have low standards when it comes to cinema. I'm sure they're not listening. So, but hey, I miss you guys, and maybe one day I'll be invited to the group chat, but probably not. So, are you ready to discuss Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
Alrighty, so Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures lasted for about eight episodes. The premiere date, I guess it was the premiere date for the second episode, because the episode we're reviewing, which is the unaired pilot, was never aired. So how can you have a premiere date? Anyway, June 28th, 1992, which for anyone who's keeping track, it is right after Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey in the franchise, if you will. And so a synopsis for anyone who might not know who or what Bill and Ted is about is the time-traveling misadventures of two seemingly dumb teen metalheads destined to save the world with their music. And as I said, we're watching the unaired pilot, and here is the synopsis for that. Bill and Ted are forced to get jobs at a local hardware store, Nail World, to buy a new amp, but they insult the store's manager's daughter and must go back in time to fix this, inadvertently giving life to a noir comic book femme fatale. And the creator slash executive producer of this show is one Clifton Campbell, and I believe we discussed him previously on our Sequest episode. He is also the executive producer on Profiler and a Wise Guy. And this was directed by Andy Tennant. And this is one that I think we should cover. Get ready to add it to the list. Well, after we're done, because I never knew this existed. The Ferris Bueller TV show. Does that ring a bell?
Oh yeah,
You knew about
yeah,
that? Oh, wow.
yeah. I knew about
I'm
it.
so
I never
out
watched
of
it
it.
because I think Ferris Bueller the movie is kind of shit
What?
and one of the most overrated pieces of cinema.
Oh my God! Stop the podcast.
I think it is terrible.
What? It's
It's
funny.
boring.
It's
It's not funny.
there would be no Saved by the Bell without Ferris Bueller.
I'd be fine with that if that meant no Ferris Bueller.
Oh
Like,
wow! This is Mr. Zach Morris over here. I thought you were collecting locks of Mark Paul Gosselaar's hair.
Ferris Bueller is nothing like Zach Morris.
Yes, he is. He's a guy who the world works completely for him, and
No,
he gets away with everything, just like Zach does.
No. Zach Morris is actually interesting and charismatic.
You only like him
maybe if they
because
would've-
he's a sexual predator like you are.
See, I hate this question because if I say that's not why I like him, it sounds like I'm saying, yeah, we're sexual predators, but that's not the reason why I like him.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone listening or watching this, let us know. Is Ferris Bueller trash? How does it compare to Saved by the Bell for you? We want to know. This is a question for the ages. But all right.
More importantly, let people know I'm not a sexual predator because I'm not. But yeah, I will add Ferris Bueller's TV show to the list. However, I'm already giving it a throw it away.
Wow, spoiler alert. Okay.
It's got to work its way up. It's starting at a throwaway, but I'll give it a chance to work its way up.
All right. Okay. So another show he directed was, we already covered it, Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., and another one that we always talk about, but I don't know is on the list, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And one that I know is definitely on the list is Sliders. And moving on to the writers.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose. That was another one that was kind of like a Ferris Bueller type
Saved
of.
by the Bellish.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one. Yeah.
And so moving on to the writers, we have the aforementioned Savage Steve Holland, and as talked about on the Eek the Cat episode, he was the executive producer, creator of and writer of Eek the Cat, the movies One Crazy Summer and Better Off Dead. And he had a co-writer in the name of Darren Star. And this was I didn't know, he wrote this movie. Let me know if you've ever seen it or heard of it. If Looks Could Kill with Richard Grieco, I think it's.
Yep.
Yeah, you've seen it?
I don't know if I've seen it, but I've definitely heard of it. And I feel like I've at least caught a part of it because I think they used to like run it on HBO. All the time.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess he's also the creator and writer of Melrose Place and Sex and the City. And
Beverly Hills 90210. Like the guy created a bunch of stuff. I went through his IMDb.
He's got just a bunch of like teens and early 20-year-olds running around in his imagination. And the production.
Hopefully that's the only place where they're running around.
Right. I mean, it's hard to talk about stuff like that in 2023. Well,
I mean, he really should not have them running around. He is, he's certainly not in his teens.
Right. And especially at this point. And it was produced by Orion Television and Entertainment. So Yahel, who are some of the thespians who acted in front of the camera for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures?
Yeah, so for this pilot episode in particular, there's not a very large cast. Looking through some of the other episodes, there's never a very large cast. Playing the parts of Bill and Ted, we've got Evan Richards as Bill S. Preston Esquire, and
I just think it's funny.
Are you okay there?
I just think it's funny that they bothered to put the Esquire here on the IMDb.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. There's going to be a recurring theme with all of these actors where you aren't really going to know them from anywhere, and a lot of them haven't had a lot of recent work. And such is the case with Evan Richards, playing the part of Ted Theodore Logan. And for those keeping track, Ted Theodore Logan is the character that was played by Keanu Reeves. Playing that part is Christopher Kennedy. I don't want to insult the good name of CK here. Again, didn't really do a lot. However, he did have a part in a film as recently as 2020. And he did have a few bit parts here and there. He was in Paycheck, which is a shockingly fun sci-fi movie with Ben Affleck.
I remember that one. Yeah, I never saw it. Yeah, I'll have to check it out someday.
Oh, it's actually pretty good. It has kind of a cheesy ending, but one thing I want to point out though about these two guys is that Evan Richards and Christopher Kennedy, these actors, they do the voice of Bill and Ted in the cartoon for 8 of the 21 episodes. The first 13 episodes are voiced by Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, the same guys that do the actual movies. But then something happens, such as, hey, we want money or something like that.
Right.
And they got these two guys to do the voices. So if you, I guess, watched only the cartoon, it may not have been so much of a shock hearing them and seeing them playing these characters on the live action show.
Yep.
Oh, we have Wursel 5. I think that's Ken from Twitter that we've seen a lot.
Looks like he's a Paycheck fan too.
Yeah, Paycheck was actually good and underrated. I agree. It's a time travel movie with some fun paradoxes. I definitely don't think about the plot holes too much because they are there, but it's pretty fun. Moving right along with the cast, we've got Kimberly Cates. I believe she was playing the mother, the stepmom.
I was about to say
Bill
that sounds
Preston.
like a softcore porn actress's name.
Well, she kind of looks like it based on some of the work she had done later on.
Yes.
She, according to the bio, which was 100% written by her, since the first sentence is, Kimberly Cates is a multi-award winning producer and actress.
Ooh.
You'd think she would name the awards, but no.
What is it? What are the
anyways?
What are the porn awards called? I don't know.
The AVN.
Yeah, there you go.
But interesting enough, I see how she landed, and she's good in this role.
Yeah, sure. She's fine.
All jokes aside,
everyone is actually pretty good in their roles.
Yeah, I will say. But I noticed that in her IMDb, the one thing that really stuck out to me is that she was in 18 episodes of Eek the Cat.
There you go.
So that's probably her connection with Savage Steve, and but she definitely holds up her end of the bargain. and she fits the role. You know, she
Mm-hmm.
looks the part. Then we've got Danny Breen, who's Mr. Is it Kielson? I can't remember how they
Yep,
pronounce
that's it.
but he was most notably a writer and producer for 66 episodes of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Huh. Wow, you wouldn't expect that from that guy. Just because he's
I
playing
mean,
such a square, but he does a good job as the square.
yeah, and in the episode that I saw, it focused on him. He gets sent to like King Arthur times.
That was funny,
And
yeah.
yeah, he's got like I almost wish we had covered that one because the series you can see that they definitely improved on quite a few things. But we can talk about that maybe at the end. But before he worked on Whose Line Is It Anyway? He was he was a producer on the 1998 run of Whose Line Is It Anyways for 206 episodes.
Wow.
And he produced 122 episodes of the Wayne Brady Show.
Oh, good for him.
So yeah. Anyways, the other guys we've got Don Lake, who plays Mr. Preston, aka Bill Esquire's father. He's also a guy that was I just lost my notes on him. He was a guy that, from what I'm going off my memory now, was more of a that's not him. I think he was a writer and a producer more than anything. On the Bonnie Hunt show.
Okay.
Which had way too many episodes. He did 2 shows involving her, and there's like over 300 episodes, and one of them was like a daytime talk show. So I guess that kind of makes sense that there's a lot of them. All right, almost done here. Rick Overton we have, who, unfortunately for him, he had to fill the large shoes left by one George Carlin. He plays a part of Rufus. He's still acting. He has something coming out in 2022. Or I'm sorry, this year, but it's like a radio show. But he did have a TV series in 2021. And yeah, he's had like lots of work going on. You know, he's never out of work. It's mostly, you know, small parts here and there. But yeah, he's got a few credits at least every year. And
Good for him.
I don't think he does a bad job.
No. It's just hard to measure up to one George Carlin.
Yeah, and I will say I appreciate that he didn't try to do like a George Carlin imitation or impression.
Right.
He tries to like channel, I guess, the personality of the character of Rufus without doing like the impression.
I mean, if you close your eyes and you're like, who is Rufus? And it's like, oh, he's just a cool guy in a suit who travels time. Like, and he's doing that pretty good, I'd say.
And in the pilot, you don't really see a lot of him anyways. You do see more of him in the second episode. Which is technically the first real episode of the series. Anyways, and the last person I want to mention is Jamie Lunar. She plays Roxanne, which is the Noir character that gets transferred here from a 2-dimensional world somehow.
Yeah.
She's been acting steadily somewhat. She was in a TV movie in 2021. And she's, you know, had bit parts here and there, small parts here and there. She had a TV series with like 10 episodes in 2015. So, you know, she's kept herself busy, and I thought she did like a really good job too. She like really went for it.
Indeed, I agree with that. Is that it for the cast then?
Yeah, the other people, like the guy that played Mongo and Big Eddie, they didn't really do anything in this one. So
no, definitely not.
Fuck up, Steve.
I would definitely like to comment, just because I think it stood out to me. The music I thought was pretty good, done by one Nathan Wang, formerly of Eek the Cat. And I don't even think we talked about the other stuff that he worked on when we were talking about Eek the Cat, but apparently he did the sound for Bruno the Kid as well, another cartoon that we covered. And also another one that I think we should cover at some point, the Highlander anime, Highlander: The Search for Vengeance. Have you ever seen that one by any chance?
It's an anime or like an animated series?
Straight up anime.
I've never even heard of it.
Japanese animation.
It's called Highlander: The Search for Vengeance.
Yeah.
I'll add it to our list.
Okay, and of course various porn here and there, but I might have made that up. Okay, so I am ready to go through the episode whenever you are.
Yeah, I'm ready. One thing though, actually, the music. I feel like there's not really a lot of music in this. I only remember 2 songs, and one gets used over and over,
Yeah.
which is like that dun 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 dun. It sounds like music from like a video game, like a Sega Genesis video game. And oddly enough, there's no theme song in this pilot episode.
Right. I think maybe the music for the second episode maybe stood out a bit more to me. I mean, there's like, it's usually some like blaring, like sort of rock sounding guitar. Was that in the first one as well?
Yeah, so the song that they have constantly playing in the background in this episode is the theme song in the actual first episode of the series. It's just like a little longer version of it with like a guitar solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. To me, it sounded like generic Sega Genesis like platformer music.
I don't know. I like that music.
It's fine. Hey, and I'm not trying to crap on Sega Genesis music or whatever.
You better not.
Because I like it. I like that. It has a very distinctive sound.
Right. Yeah. They just need to get a like the Sega Genesis PCB and turn it into a guitar pedal and just play everything through that.
I don't. You don't mean that.
All right, let's do this thing. Okay, so we start with a exterior shot of a futuristic-looking skyscraper. We are told by the text on the screen that this is San Dimas, California, 2692, and this is the Church of Bill and Ted. I mean, I find it sad that they still have to have any kind of church in 2692, but whatever. It's just a TV show. So
well, but they're not really like worshiping.
Yeah, it's more of a philosophy
se.
than anything else, as we are about to find out. And so now we are inside that building, and basically Rufus, he tells a massive congregation that life was a bitch for Bill and Ted back in the 20th century. But thanks to them, bowling scores are up, mini golf scores are down, and they have more water slides than any of the other planets that they communicate with. He explains that the circuits of time allowed people to travel back to ensure Bill and Ted were on the right path, and now they are a society based off the philosophies of Bill and Ted. So basically the same premise from the movies. I don't know. What were you thinking so far once this cold open happened?
Yeah, it was fine. I thought it was interesting that they don't really like do the explanation open for the TV series once it got picked up. It's just like the theme song. But, you know, Bill and Ted was a big hit. And this show aired after the second movie. So by then, like, you know, people know what Bill and Ted's is. So
yeah, and you
don't really have to explain it.
And you can tell they were probably trying to save as much money as possible with this, because while he was talking about, you know, all the stuff that's transpired, we see lots of stock footage, but you know,
well, yeah, because it's a huge congregation. So, and I was wondering, like, what church did they? Because it does look like it's from a church, like a big mega church. Like, what church was like, yeah, sure, you can use our footage?
Oh, I'm sure any evangelical preacher was like, oh, you can have it for a price.
Steve, are you saying that they're just trying to in it for the money? These.
I mean, you know, I just thought I would float that sort of idea to you, and you know, you
controversial.
Yeah, you know, just let it sit with you, think about it, and then let us know in the comments if it has any weight.
Well, Warsaw 5 said in the comments, the same church that Ed Wood got money from.
I love an Ed Wood reference in 2023. Yeah, I mean, they used a lot of stock footage just for like other stuff, like when they showed people bowling and the mini golf. And I mean, you can see that, you know, they're just trying to save money because they're just planning on showing this to like executives and money men.
Exactly.
And don't really plan on airing it, I guess, which is
exactly. I was just gonna say that same thing. They may not have even necessarily like tried to get licenses because this wasn't really gonna air. It's for those that don't know, I don't know if we've ever like explained what a pilot is. I think most people know, but you know, it's kind of like a proof of concept of your TV show or media. You know, you show it to people, like Steve said, that you want to get to invest or pick up your product for mass distribution.
And I'm sure it wasn't too hard because Bill and Ted were still hot in 1992.
Yeah, you know, I did read a little tidbit that basically once the show went into production, they waited until the second Bill and Ted's movie turned a profit before they started actually airing it.
Huh.
I guess maybe they were afraid that people would be like, "Well, I don't need to go watch the movie. I got the show at home. I got Bill and Ted at home, baby."
Right. Well, I don't know if this holds up to the movies, but that's a discussion for
Yeah.
another time. So as we move on, we are now in San Dimas, California, 1991. We see a suburban house in a nice neighborhood. Inside the garage, Bill and Ted rock out so hard that their gear catches on fire. And Bill's stepmom comes in with lemonade, and she's wearing a bikini for no reason. She notices the toasted equipment and says, "Oh, but the dance is tomorrow. What are you going to do?" And Bill and Ted, they don't have any idea. And then Bill's dad comes in, makes out with Bill's stepmom. Missy is her name. And then Bill and Ted try to convince Bill's dad to buy a new amp, and he tells them to get a job. My question to you, Yahel, forgot to write down their names, the guys who actually created and wrote the original Bill and Ted's movies, but do you think they have a stepmom fetish?
They may. I don't remember their name either, but I did check to see their involvement in the show, and I did see that one of the creators from Bill and Ted ends up writing the other 7 episodes.
Oh, well,
Of the
good,
series.
good for him. But I remember they had that same stepmom stuff in the original movie, The Excellent Adventure. And I'm like, I could just see them. They're for the TV meeting. They're like, "You gotta have the stepmom in there. You just gotta have her." They saw
Well,
like,
I'm sure they're also trying to like get, have some sex appeal to the show.
sure.
And
And you mean,
I
and you get that again with like the noir lady later on.
yeah, and Bill and Ted, they're all about the women and the babes or whatever. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't like Bill having a hot stepmom like a plot point of the second movie? It's been a long time since I watched it, but I think like that was like a thing already.
I thought
established
I know it was established in the first one. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, then maybe that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it was like in one of them.
Yeah.
By the way, we do have Stadium Arts here again, aka Stry.
What's up?
I think he was replying to something else. He wrote, "Oh, all good." But I know recently he had an unfortunate trip to the emergency room. So glad to see you're doing a little better. I know you
Yes.
still got.
Thanks for spending your valuable time with us.
Yes.
And if you go back and listen, we talk about how we're also on death's door. So you're not alone, buddy. You're not alone.
He's not on death's door.
Let's see. Today is like nothing ever happened. It's weird, but you got it, buddy. All right. So shall we move on? All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, Bill and Ted are now at Nail World, which is a hardware store. I guess the small kind, not the huge Home Depot kind that we have nowadays. And Mr. Kielson, I guess the manager / owner, says he can only afford to hire one of them. Mr. Kielson says their chances will improve if they take his daughter to the dance. And then they argue because neither wants to take her. And then Mr. Kielson gets angry and kicks both of them out. What did you think?
Yeah, and this is like where we saw we talked about it earlier, the globe at the store, the globe of Earth, and with a bunch of nails put into it like Pinhead from Hellraiser, which is just, I don't know, whoever thought of that. Like, I bet whoever thought of that ended up regretting it, because that sounds cool until you look at the globe and you realize it's like 40 or 50 nails they had to put into it, and they're all like symmetric, equilaterally distanced from each other.
Yeah, they just made some set decorator do it. No big deal.
Oh no! But I assume that's maybe who thought of it or whatever. Whoever had to do it, I'm sure they were like, oh,
Right.
no.
Rasm, frasm. Wish I was
And
working.
it's not
it.
even used in any way, shape, or form on the show, other than it's just kind of sitting there.
Yeah, it's just a fun piece of set decoration, basically.
Yeah.
So the time phone booth drops out of the sky, and Rufus steps out. He tells Bill and Ted that if they don't play the school dance, then humanity will take a most heinous turn. Then he leaves, and the phone he goes away in the phone booth, and then the other phone booth drops out of the sky. And this is
Like
where
an empty one for Bill and Ted to use.
Yeah, and this is where I was like, I don't really remember, or even if they establish like what the rules of their time travel is. Because like he didn't even say, he was like, oh, I'm just gonna send a phone booth to help you guys out. He was just like, oh, you guys are the great ones, you'll figure it out. He left, and then a phone booth showed up. Like, do you remember the rules? Did they even establish them?
I mean, what do you mean by the rules?
The rules of their time travel.
I mean, they can go, well, at least in the films, they can just go back and forward in time. Apparently, like in this episode in particular, they can travel to like other planes of existence, as we'll discover. I didn't really have a problem with I thought it was weird that Rufus gave them no instructions.
Yeah.
I guess in a way you could say he does tell them what they need to do, because he says, hey, you need to play the dance. Here's a phone booth. So logically you're like, okay, well, let me use this to like, go to a point in time where I can get an amp or whatever.
See, Yahel, Rufus is a Christ-like character. He's allowing Bill and Ted, he's helping them by allowing them to help themselves.
Well, maybe. But the way I saw it was, like he doesn't really need to tell them what to do, because he already knows, right? Rufus knows how it plays out.
Right.
And maybe so I assume Rufus just knows that he doesn't tell
Right.
them
I mean, I don't have a problem with any of the Rufus stuff. It's just, I guess it's...
For the audience, it's a little weird, though.
Yeah, I just think it's weird. He leaves, and then phone booth shows up out of nowhere. And he wasn't even like, hey, dudes, I'll send you the phone booth to help you out. It just sort of happened. Like, it's not a big deal. I just thought it was a little weird, that's all.
Yeah. So Warsaw 5, let's be real. Time travel never takes place in the Earth's position and rotational speed. I think he meant like never takes like into account. Let's go back in time. Warps into the middle of space. Yeah, that would be an unfortunate and quick end to like any time travel media. And, this is definitely one of those shows where it's like, if you stop and think about it for a second, they choose to travel back in time. What they want to do is travel back in time to 15 minutes ago to basically just stop themselves from upsetting the manager so that they can get the job.
Right.
Not make fun of his daughter, say they'll take her to the dance, get the money and get the job. Buy the amp. But they could have just traveled back in time like an hour and 15 minutes and stopped themselves from destroying their amps.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Bill and Ted, they definitely, they just sort of do. I think you're supposed to turn off your brain. I look at Bill and Ted
for sure
as the lesser of the time travel franchise. I'll take Back to the Future over this any day of the week. But, so Bill and Ted decide they were too harsh on Mr. Keelson's daughter, decide to take the phone booth back 15 minutes to fix the situation. They get in the phone booth, and a frisbee ruins the phone booth's antenna. Like, there's some kids, they're playing frisbee nearby, and it hits the antenna on the phone booth. Ted jumps up.
What a poorly constructed time machine, by the way. Just this very weekend, but we got to get the plot moving.
What if they went to, okay, so in the second episode they went to medieval times. What if they appeared in the middle?
Not the restaurant, to the actual time period, just to be clear.
What if they appeared in the middle of a battle and there's arrows being fired and it could have completely just demolished that antenna and then they wouldn't be able to go anywhere. But anyway. So Ted jumps up and uses a magazine to straighten up the antenna. Basically, he does a little sort of MacGyver move, sort of tapes it up there, and it works. But then the phone booth takes them back to the 1940s, where mobsters are threatening a woman. And then I also wrote, because I didn't know exactly what was happening at this point, that for some reason it's in black and white. And I was like, are they time traveling to movie genres at this point? And
in a way they do, because we end up finding out that, so basically when they first go into Nail World, the manager is reading like a 1950s, like a pulp magazine or a comic book.
Crime comic
It's called
book,
Crime Stories. Something.
Yeah.
And it's in black and white. And when they go to this 1940s world that's in black and white, they end up like the phone booth lands on this guy who was going after this woman who we find out her name is Roxanne or whatever. Yeah. and they end up like squashing him completely flat, as if though he's a piece of paper. And like Bill even picks him up and he's like, "Oh, we flattened him," and I'm like, "What the hell is happening? This is so cartoonish."
Oh,
it was
right.
very like Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of.
Yeah, it really was. And then it gets even weirder. I mean, if you don't know what's going on, because the lady Roxanne introduces herself and thanks Bill and Ted. And I guess another mobster shows up and they load her into the phone booth because, that's the smart thing to do. I love how just Bill and Ted, they don't care at all about disrupting the time stream. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, but I guess like if I was Bill and Ted, I would assume that everything I do, no matter what I do, is what's supposed to happen to make, this utopian future anyway. So like you almost like don't even have to have a care because
Right.
you're gonna like make it. You're gonna be fine no matter what, right? You've got like the futurist plot armor basically.
So if that's the case, then I mean, how do we even have like shows and adventures here?
Exactly. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I just watched a few weeks ago, finished watching Dark on Netflix. I don't know if you've watched
I've
that.
seen a few
Have you?
episodes. Yeah.
And you stopped?
I can't remember why I did, but maybe you know what?
Too
It might have
complicated?
been
Like
when I found out that time travel was involved because I really don't like time travel.
Steve, you should actually watch it. I think it's very different than any other time travel show I've seen. In fact, it's about it. I'd have to spoil it for you, but just
All right.
give it another shot. It gets really, really good. It's and the time travel mechanics, once they're finally explained, it works in a way where you're like, okay, yeah, they're traveling through. Fuck, I can't talk about any of it without giving stuff away. Just watch it. I think you'll really appreciate the attention to detail and writing. If you
Okay.
watch it.
All right. I will put the gun down. Okay.
Okay, fine.
So
Put the phone booth down.
So they load her into the phone booth and they return to the present. They land in Bill's backyard, and Roxanne is still black and white. And then this really threw me off. And she's impressed that she can see in 3D, basically. She's like, I was never able to see my backside and my front sides before, but now I can. And it's so kind of confusing at first if you don't know what's going on. I'm just like, why? So she's from a 2D movie is what I was thinking in my brain. But then we get our explanation here in a minute. What did you think when she came out talking about that?
So, like, when she said that, that's when I started to realize, oh, like, she might be from that comic or whatever. So, like, this is when I, like, kind of picked up on it, but I was very confused. I thought it was, like, a movie thing as well.
Right. So, Bill...
Because the thing is, like, it's not like they made her, and obviously they couldn't really do it because of, the budget constraints and the time period of the show, but if they had made her look cel-shaded or animated, like more like a drawing or whatever, then you would have picked up on it probably like right away. I think I would have.
Right, definitely. And when I saw this, like the thumbnail for this episode, where they're kind of both standing to either side of Roxanne, like in the low res like picture, I was like, are they hanging out with She-Hulk? Like I didn't really know what was going on, but
oh yeah, she does kind of look like her a little bit.
Yeah.
From the Disney show.
Yep.
So Steve, the black and white effect to make her look black and white, I think how do you think they did it?
Oh, just body paint.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, the cheapest way possible.
Yeah, because I was like, because at first I was like, wow, I thought she was gonna turn to color when she like stepped outside the booth or something, and I'm like, okay, so I guess they just like rotoscoped her, or maybe like rotoscope them so they could green screen her in behind them while in the booth. And I'm like, wow, it's really well done.
Oh, this is 1992, man. There's no way they're gonna.
No, you could do it.
Yeah, it's possible, sure.
But it would have taken a long time.
Right.
But I was thinking, oh, it's just for this like 5 seconds that they're in the booth.
Right.
And then I'm like, when she steps out of it and I see like all the shadows, like she's obviously like in the environment with them. I'm like, oh my God, they just painted her, but they did a really good job with the paint. I gotta say, like.
Right. I mean, I would say, yeah, they definitely went with the paint because they're, I don't think Savage Steve and the rest of the producers are like, oh, we're gonna win over the investors with special effects. They're just sort of riding the Bill and Ted hype train, and just making trying to get by with their pilot episode as cheaply as possible.
The special effects, though, like I do think the special effects are very good for a 90s
it's
TV
on
show.
par with the movies. I would say.
Movie. And I suspect they use some clips from the movie when they show like the thing like traveling through time, but like the stuff where like it like lands in the environment that's for the TV show looks good. And I read a review from the era of the show, and basically they were like, the show's not good, but the special effects are great. That's what the review basically said.
Yeah. I can partially agree with that, possibly, but we'll see. So, all right, Bill tells Roxanne, and this is funny because I just love how Bill and Ted put like their minuscule problems ahead of any kind of like universe or time stream altering problem that they may encounter. They tell Roxanne that they will help her, but right now they got to go get this job. And so,
well, in all fairness, Steve, they do need to do this to save the universe, the entire future.
Right. It's true. So there's like,
but also they could just get back in the phone booth and still travel to the period of time that they wanted to travel.
I know. There's no reason for them not to take the phone booth. Yeah, 100%. And there's
yeah, they really are. One thing that I do think like they're missing is like having some kind of limits to the time travel. Like they can only time travel like X amount of times per hour or per day because it has to recharge or something so that they can't just use it like willy-nilly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's we'll get into it more later, but everything always works out for Bill and Ted, and there's like very few rules. But
yeah, I did think one funny thing that they said was when they were like about to get in the phone booth to the first time to go back 15 minutes, they were talking about how they were too harsh about Bernadette, right, the manager's daughter, and that they should be nicer. And Bill says, yeah, because, beauty's only skin deep. And then Ted replies, and she's got plenty of skin to go around. Just like, wow.
Yeah.
So that did make me laugh out loud. Like, wow, what a way to call her overweight.
Without actually doing it. That's the clever writing here on... you can thank Savage...
I mean, I thought it was funny.
No, it was funny. It was. All right, so now they are back in the hardware store. Bill and Ted say that they love Mr. Keelson's daughter. Then they pretend to fight over her. And he says that they can both take her to the prom or the dance or whatever it is. And he's like, if they start working tonight, he'll front them the money for the amp, like right now. And so, of course, they agree with that. And then Ted grabs the aforementioned crime comic book or a crime magazine, whatever you want to call it. And Roxanne is on the cover. And then they realize that they were inside the comic book and that they brought Roxanne into the real world. And I'll say, since I'm a giant nerd who loves comics, that finding this bit of information out made me like this a lot better.
I had a feeling this gave you a Savage Steve erection. I'm like, between it being like a noir set thing and like a comic book, but it's kind of a neat idea, right? Like they start thumbing through the comic book and they see that like she's not in any of the other pages, like she's gone from the rest of the book. So like they're like, oh crap, we have to get her back to her comic.
Yeah, it's very sort of, I don't know, Cool World and the music video for Take On Me. It is. Anyway, what was the name of the band that sings Take On Me? Aha, you got it. All right, moving on. All right, so Roxanne and Bill's stepmom tan in the backyard because, it's the 90s and you got to have that sex appeal. And
I do want to point out, Warcell5 in the chat also got that it was aha.
All right, good job. Glad to see you fellows are paying attention. So
and then Stry Stadium Art said, "You guys are way older than me." Go to hell. I'm just kidding. Forget the well wishes.
Yeah.
We're in a feud now.
Okay, so Roxanne and Bill's stepmom stand in the backyard. Bill and Ted enter, and Missy, that's Bill's stepmom, says that Roxanne needs time to heal away from her boyfriend being blown away. The idea is that Roxanne and Missy have been, I guess, having girl talk. I guess Missy doesn't have any problem with the fact that just some random lady is hanging out in her backyard. And she's like, oh, look, a friend. Let's talk. Let's tan and rub lotion all over each other. Then Bill and Ted read a bit more of the comic, and they see that Roxanne's aforementioned boyfriend isn't dead because he was wearing a bulletproof vest. And I guess they get the idea that they need to, reunite them, like get her back in the comic with her man. Because they also say that if they don't get her back, then the boyfriend will be gone and Roxy will be gone forever. Isn't that what they say? Something along those lines?
Something like that. It's very unclear.
And that's almost kind
of
Back to the Future-ish, if you will, but only like half-baked or quarter-baked Back to the Future plot point. So anyway, they return to the backyard to like get Roxanne, but Missy and Roxanne are gone. I forgot to mention there's another sort of erotic stepmom moment where Missy makes Bill rub lotion on her glutes, basically. I mean, it's not real.
And they say like they call it the back of her thighs, but he very clearly goes to rub her ass.
Yeah. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah. Missy is cut to Missy is saying goodbye to Roxanne. They are next to a yellow cab. And then she gets into a cab and it drives away just as Bill and Ted arrive. Missy tells Bill and Ted that Roxy has taken all her money and gone off to see the world because that's like the perfect cure for like a bad boyfriend or a bad breakup. Or
yeah, she says like that's what you do when you have a heartbreak. You go and you see the world. And yeah, I guess we forgot to mention that Roxy has like a briefcase of money apparently.
Yeah, oh yeah, that did slip my mind. Huh. Oh, yeah, thanks for mentioning that. And this was kind of a downer. That is the end of the episode. And I looked to see if the next episode was like part 2. It is not. Apparently, a part 2 was never filmed. And I actually started watching. We talked about the episode that's after this. Yahel watched a bit of it, and so did I. And
I watched the whole thing.
Okay, well, I just watched a bit. Excuse me.
I just want to establish my expertise. I am the SME on this show here. Subject matter expert.
Me?
You never heard
guy from Hook? Peter Pan?
No, SME, SME. That's like a term in the corporate world. Subject matter expert.
Oh, well, I mean,
as you know, Steve, I work for the corporate side of the company I work for. I'm part
you're
of
the man, is what you're saying. Yeah, I get you. I'm surprised they even allow you to do such an upstart of a podcast as this.
Oh, Steve, once you make it into corporate, you can do any. There are no rules for me,
that's what
Steve.
Harvey Weinstein said. When are you going to Epstein's Island? I'm just curious. Oh, you've already been? Oh, wow. Okay. So basically, I started watching the second one, and I was like, this. I didn't think it was as good as the first one. I don't know. Like, yeah.
Really?
I mean,
how far did you get into it?
I would say I got about halfway, and then I kind of clicked around. Like I saw where Mr. Keelson like ended up having sex with Queen Guinevere, which is.
He doesn't. He's always about to, but he never.
Oh, see, all right, that's kind of a funny thing, and I don't know. I like the energy of the first one better because it's clear that they didn't plan anything out or like bother to even have a decent script, so they were just sort of going with everything.
That's interesting because and I do want to put out in the chat. You were not alone, Steve, because Stry also said that thought I was talking about Hook. When I said SME.
See, me and Stry, we are men of the people. We're not like a, plantation owner like you. I don't know why.
What is in your margarita? What is going on, Steve?
I already finished it. I'll have you know.
Well, that's you finished that pretty quickly. And then Warcell 5, I guess he said he was known as Smee for a bit when he worked at Verizon back in the day. But I actually thought the second episode, or which is technically episode 1 of the series, was way better in terms of the way the characters of Bill and Ted are presented. They get the hair right, number one. In the
That's the most important thing.
Because well, Bill's hair is like too dark in the first episode, in the pilot episode, excuse me, and Ted's hair is like completely different style. So they fixed that, and I actually felt that like their impressions, I thought they had more energy in the second one, and I thought it was just like better written. Like there was some really funny stuff.
It was, but all right, I think like, the reason why I liked the first one better is because it was because the second one is basically Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, because they went back to medieval times, not the restaurant in the first movie, right? So
yeah, they go to the
so it was more of the same for me, and I mean, I don't really want more of the same. I want something wacky and off the walls, like accidentally going into a noir comic book.
I thought this was pretty wacky though, because basically it's like the manager. I just to give a quick recap, the manager, what's his name again? Mr. Keelson. He and he's like a very nerdy looking guy.
He's definitely the guy you don't want to be your manager.
Right. He ends up like accidentally going back in time to King Arthur and the Round Table time. And a guy pulls out the Excalibur out of the stone.
And just hands it to him for no reason.
Keelson shows up. Well, he thinks like someone's just coming to get him or attack him. He hands it to him. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Why not use the sword to defeat the guy who's coming for you? Huh?
I don't know. But Keelson ends up with the sword. So like everybody thinks he's King Arthur, the legend that's been foretold, blah, 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 blah. And Mr. Keelson the whole time thinks he's having like a dream because of all the anxiety he has. He thinks he's having like a bad dream. But I thought like there was like a real, and Bill and Ted like have to go back and get him and bring him back to like current times. But and there's like a subplot about them like trying to get credit for something. But anyways, did you get to the part where Guinevere goes to free the real King Arthur that's been like captured and he's down in the dungeon? So Guinevere gets one of the guards to like take her down to like where they keep the prisoners, and down there is the King Arthur guy who's made friends with Bill and Ted and saw Bill and Ted. So all three of them are down there. So she gets down there with the guard, and he's like, oh, they're right this way. Here's the keys. And she goes, thank you so much. Now go kill yourself for betraying the king. And he goes, yes, ma'am. That just cracked me up.
Wow.
And then from that moment, I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm sold.
That took a dark turn.
Yeah, and it was just it was like very like almost like Monty Python.
A goth guy like you would really be into something like that.
But anyways, should we actually, before we render the verdict, what do you think about the Bill and Ted, like the actors, we'll call them the fake Bill and Ted, Bill and Ted 2. What do you think about their performance versus the original Keanu and I
think it's pretty good. I mean, all right, I pretty much find Bill and Ted pretty annoying overall. And I feel like it's an impression that pretty much anyone could pull off. And I mean, it's just really about matching the energy, really. And I think these guys did a really good job. I kept thinking about the Weird Science TV show when I was watching this the whole time, because you had a couple of unknowns who were coming in to take the place for two previously established feature film actors. But of course, like, I think Weird Science was the TV show was way after the Weird Science feature film, so probably no one cared. but no, I think they're great. I think the voices are on. Like, I think. How about you?
Yeah, I thought like they do a pretty good job matching the energy, the mannerisms. Like you said, the voices and stuff. It's not like exactly hard to do, right? I think what brings down their performances is like maybe they don't have, and I don't think they have bad performances, but like they don't maybe have quite the chemistry that
I can see
Keanu
that.
and Alex
I can see
Winters
that.
have.
Yep.
And they don't have the chemistry that with this Rufus that Keanu and Alex had with George
Right.
Carlin. There's a little bit of I don't want to say magic, but there's that
It's
you
true.
know,
It's true.
where like they're greater than the sum of their parts when the original three are together. And these three do a fine job, but comparing them to the original, they're definitely just a couple notches
Right. I
below.
think if like the show would have stuck around, that chemistry probably would have
Yeah.
happened. I
And maybe in later episodes, as the series goes, maybe it develops. But I do want to catch up here with the chat a
Sure,
little
let's do
bit.
it.
Stry accused me of wearing eyeshadow and black painted nails in high school and sock
High
sleeves. I
school.
was
How
actually a bit of a
about 2 days ago?
Yeah, yeah. That's more like recent me. I'm having my goth phase now in my 40s. But Stadium Arts also said when you brought up the stepmom fetish, Weird Science TV show reminded me of that. And I actually meant to make that same comment earlier, where like a lot of these 90s shows, there's a lot of them where it's like it involves two guys and there's like a reoccurring hot girl
Right.
character,
Right.
kind of a thing. So it's a bit of a trope for the time. But
Yeah, you're not allowed to make
anyways,
shows
are
like
you
that anymore.
whatever. There's like hot women and hot guys like all the time, like on these shows. What are you talking about, Steve? You just don't know where to look because you're an old man now, Steve.
You're older than me.
I know, Steve, but I don't have a kid, and I'm still hanging out
God.
with the kids.
He makes me
So
younger.
I'm still out.
He makes me in touch with
I'm still out
today's
there.
youth.
No, Steve, you're out there in the playground. I'm out there in the streets.
Oh my
Steve.
God, breaking! You're out there break dancing and listening to like a giant
You don't
boombox.
see. You don't look what you just did. Breaking. You don't even know what's going on.
Oh, sorry,
Steve.
popping and locking.
That's not. No.
Well, then
Steve.
what's it called today? What
You just don't get it, Steve. No cap. You just don't get it.
are you ready to render the verdict or what?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do this thing. Okay.
Remember, overrated. That's the question.
All right then. Half Moon Darkness Yahel Velasquez. That's your goth name. Unicorn. I'll throw a unicorn in there too.
All right, that wouldn't be used.
Do you do you think that Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures should be remembered for all of human history, or were tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again?
If I had only watched the first episode, the pilot episode, I would have been really on the fence, going by the unaired pilot episode. But since I watched both that and the first episode, I'm actually and I would have been leaning towards, that it should be forgotten. But I'm gonna actually say it should be remembered. More so if you're like a fan of the Bill and Ted's franchise, I think you'll find some enjoyment. The episodes, thankfully because they're short, they don't really overstay their welcome. And sometimes there's some like genuinely like funny, like stupid funny stuff, like the kind of joke you might see in Airplane or like The Naked Gun. You're just like really dumb off the wall joke. And I'm into that. So I'm gonna go with Remembered actually.
Yeah, I was definitely on the fence. I could see that if you're really into the Bill and Ted franchise, which I'm definitely not. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just kind of whatever. I think this would be a good little, and if you haven't seen this is a good little sort of revisit back to the Bill and Ted universe. I think it's on par with the movies, or like Yahel said before, maybe a couple steps below. I mean, especially for a 90s show, it does a good job of sort of recapturing the tone and the comedy of a Bill and Ted movie. And I don't know, I really would have liked to have seen an ending to the unaired pilot. But
I do feel like maybe I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, jump in there.
I do feel like this is a little bit like a script, or maybe scripts that were like maybe intended or storyboarded for the cartoon, and then they just kind of tried to adult them up a little bit, to like skew
I didn't
a little
think
older.
about that. Interesting. Yeah. So with all that being said, I mean, even though I don't particularly love it. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. So, yeah, sure. We're going to go ahead and save it. Here.
What a raving review.
Oh, should we stalemate it?
It's the worst thing
you
in the world.
want to stalemate it?
No, Steve, I want you to do whatever you think is right, Steve. Much like Rufus, I'm not here to influence.
Oh, you're here to help me by allowing me to help myself?
Yes.
All right, well, even though they don't have any rules for their bullshit time traveling, let's go ahead and remember. In accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming YouTube podcast in all of the internet, you shall be remembered. Yes. Good show. Good show.
So Steve, it's funny that you keep mentioning to me, keep talking about how like there's no rules to their time, and there really isn't any rules to time travel. And that was like one thing that did irk me, like why are they able to go into like an alternate plane of existence? Like that was weird. Maybe it was gonna get explained later on, because it seems like there was a plan to like follow up, and then like a lot of pilots, things changed. You know, the network wants X changes made when the show gets
I
picked
imagine
up,
the network was like, "Ooh, we don't want this like weird sort of like cool world like comic book stuff. We want stuff that's more like what happened in the movies." So hint.
Like Warcell 5 wrote multiverse. The answer is always multiverse, even back then. But yeah, I will say though, like, because it sounds like you only watched a few episodes of Dark. They have a lot, like very like strict rules for their time travel, and the show never deviates from them. So like everything happens exactly as like they set up. But yeah, I'm telling you, Steve, watch like at least like the first season. If you're not into it by the end of like the first season and a half, which I'd be shocked if by the end of the season 1 you're not into it, you should really go back. I think you'd be into it because it doesn't like play fast and loose with the rules. It doesn't like throw a curveball and just go, oh, it's fine because of time travel.
Right. You mean they don't Disney it up?
Right. The opposite. What does that even mean, Steve? What is this obsession with Disney? Every show you almost.
It's not an obsession. It's a hatred.
Without complaining about.
It's a
Disney.
vendetta. They destroyed the Marvel universe, the thing that I loved and gave a lot of money to from the years of 1991 all the way to like 20. I mean, I still buy Marvel comics occasionally, but look what you did. All right, look, I do have one last Bill and Ted question for you, and that is, why do you? All right, you know that guy who directs all those porn parodies? Why do you think he hasn't made a Bill and Ted porn parody yet?
No, I don't know that guy.
Come on.
I just said it so casually.
He makes all those superhero porn parody movies.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they exist. I mean, I'm sure that, yeah, I guess there really isn't like is there even like any kind of Bill and Ted parody movie? Like,
I mean, it's kind of a parody of itself.
At all?
So,
yeah,
because
I don't know why
they can't
isn't.
find a phone booth to have sex in. Is that what you're saying, Ken?
Oh, well, the cost of renting a phone booth, especially these days, as a prop, you know, that may be like It may be cost
Back in the
prohibitive.
70s, when they didn't care about things like hygiene, they just went out to an actual phone booth and just filmed the scene there.
Oh, that possibly, or I'm sure it was a lot easier to find like phone booths that were like no longer working that you could just like.
You could slap one
phone
together with cardboard and duct tape.
Well, Steve, I don't think that'll hold up under the 4K resolutions of today's porn industry.
Yeah, you're right. The Bill and Ted stands, they want an actual phone booth. They're not going to be satisfied with just some cardboard cookie cutter.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, for example, they wouldn't take a Rufus with a full head of long hair. He needs to be partially balding.
Right. Absolutely.
Gotta be accurate.
You're absolutely. Oh, boy. Well.
As Warcell 5 wrote in the chat, I demand authenticity.
Well, we need to write a letter to, Dr. Porn Parody and demand.
Is that really his name?
No, he's got a real name. But yes, all right, listeners.
Well, presumably.
You need to write a letter to the porn industry and demand your Bill and Ted porn parody.
Yeah, that's right, everybody. Just on the envelope, just write to porn industry, and the mailman will know exactly. It's just like sending a letter to Santa Claus. It'll get to the right pole.
Bill and Ted's Sexcellent Adventures. Oh, damn, that's good.
Oh!
That's so good. Wow.
Wow, that's...
You're back, Stry. You're back, baby, and you're better than ever.
Maybe we should get a Kickstarter going, just the name alone. Okay, anyways.
Or at least make a T-shirt of it. I don't know. All right. Well, thank you, live chat, for joining us. And anyone who listened or watched, why don't you let us know what you think about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures and Kickstarter?
Yeah. Warcell 5 in the chat for those just listening wrote in the chat, Kickstarter.
Oh, that's good.
Kink.
Man, how could they not have made one of those yet? It's like, do you have an idea for a porn that's too much for the porn industry? Well,
too expensive.
You can raise money on Kickstarter. Yeah. Speaking of Kick...
You know, Stry, it sounds to me like Stry and Warcell 5 should get together, get a business plan going. I think you guys got the juice in more ways than one.
You could be like the Savage Steve Holland of porn.
Yeah.
And whoever else.
We need to end the show before we get taken off YouTube.
Hey, remember, we're podcast first. So if that ever happened, you guys make sure you go to wherever you get podcasts and download Obscurity Now.
Just take wherever you get porn.
Yeah, wherever you get porn, Obscurity Now is not far behind. So yeah, we'll be back next Sunday where we will be talking about the officially licensed NFL superhero known as Super Pro and his first issue. So if you don't care about the Super Bowl, you should come spend it with us because we don't care about it. So we're going to make fun of their lame superhero that Marvel created for them in the 90s. Anything else to add before we sign off here, Yahel?
No, I think I'm good. Thanks for everybody that hung out in the chat. Warcell 5 and Stry at K-Stadium Arts. And if you only listen, we are live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific every Sunday. Most Sundays, like 99% of Sundays. And you can join in the chat and hang out with us.
Give us ideas for porn names and...
Yeah, give us all your great adult ideas. And you can network within the adult industry in our live chat.
You can help Yahel with his goth styling tips. All kinds of crap. But okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Obscurity Now. We will see you next Sunday as we continue to unearth even more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. See you next Sunday.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.